Hey everybody, Justin from Utah Airguns, and I am psyched out of my mind to show you the new FX rifle that is coming out. We haven't seen an entire new model of gun from them since the Maverick, which has been a couple of years. This one is going to be a treat. This is the new Fx Panthera, spelled Panthera, but whatever. Whether or not they pronounce it Panthera, I'm just going to tell you right now, the gun is called a Panthera, and that's that. There's no change in stores. I don't care how it's spelled. I don't care if it's spelled with a T or with an L or with an I. We're calling it the Panthera. All right, as you can see, it doesn't look anything like any of the FX rifles yet. Obviously, I think first thing that catches your eye is we've got a bottle back here, which is not common out of an FX rifle, not for a long time, since like the Verminator days. They had a tank back there, or the Revolutions, but haven't seen it for quite a while. Let me explain what we're looking at though. This gun was specifically built as a competition rifle. As you know, the precision rifle competition is getting to be more and more popular in the airgun industry, but we haven't had a gun made specifically for it. We've made guns into PRS style guns or NRL style guns, but we haven't had one that is built right off the factory floor made for that. Well, that changes today because the Panthera was made strictly for a competition mindset. So as you can see, it feels a lot like a precision centerfire rifle, right? You've got a long front end chassis system. You've got ARCA across the whole bottom. You've got M-LOK on the sides for all your weight accessories or whatever you want to put on it. But most of the time you're going to see weights in there for the competition stuff. But let's dive into a few things that are very, very unique about this rifle. One, the new valve in this gun. The valve in this gun is amazing. It makes a ton of power without a lot of air. So it's the latest advancement in valve technology for FX. But also, you've got an air bottle back here and you have no space for a plenum here. Well, that's where you're wrong, because half of this thing right here is your plenum. Your plenum goes around the barrel, and this thing is super solid. Like, it feels like you're picking up a centerfire rifle by the barrel. It is incredibly solid. So, and I know some of you might be going through your head, well, I don't know about this. That's going to change your accuracy, having air around the barrel. The answer is no, not at all. It actually is a incredibly solid, very, very accurate rifle. So, boom, that was 4 shots at 200 yards. One thing you'll notice about this rifle is it is very, very short. As far as from scope height to barrel, it is extremely low. So when you were setting up on a barricade or anything for a precision rifle competition where you're shooting positional stuff, one of the biggest things that we've had feedback from a lot of competitors shooting in that particular discipline is, yes, we like the guns, but they're too tall this way. And the reason they don't like a really tall gun is because you can cant them pretty easy. And they also don't fit very well in some of the barricades. Like when you're shooting from a ladder rung and you have, say, an impact with a big scope like this, it's almost impossible to shoot through some of these small gaps, right? Because the gun is so tall. Well, now you have that really low bore to scope height. You have a really low center of gravity platform here, and it is extremely easy to shoot off of barricades or obstacles that you may incur in that type of competition. So you also notice the full ARCA rail, this bottom piece, you can run your bipods back to here, or you can run it out to here, however you want to set it up. You've got a barricade stop back here. It was very much built just for competition. I know you're used to FX rifles having a huge shot count, 100, 200 round shot count sometimes. Well, being that this has a very small bottle, the shot count isn't going to be anywhere near that, but it's still very good for what you're going to be pushing. So, for example, in this gun right now, I'm shooting a 31 grain slug at about 1,015 feet per second, and I'm going to get about a magazine and a half on my air consumption right now before I need to top off. I've shot 18 shots now. I did a 300 bar fill because I have the Air Marksman 300 bar bottle on here. I am sitting at 200 bars still. Reg is set at 155. So I still got a whole magazine to go probably with that 300 bar fill. 250 bar, you're probably going to get about a magazine and a half. But that extra 50 bar is a big help. So they didn't make this to have a huge shot count. They made it to to have that feel, that look of the precision rifle. So, and knowing that most of your stages in that type of competition are usually 10 to 12 rounds max. Every once in a while you have, like say an NRLX match where they'll throw in a 20 round count, but you'll still be able to do that with this setup. You shouldn't compare it to like, your Impacts or a Maverick or something where it's got the big bottle and huge shot count. That wasn't what it was intended for. A couple of the other features that we've got, they made this ambidextrous. So your cheek piece can be flipped around so you can use it lefty or righty. Also the cocking knob, your cocking lever can be switched left or right. So it's basically a fully ambidextrous rifle, other than the safety is always on the right side of the gun. Another thing to note on this gun that's different, you'll notice the magazine well is wider. Well, they did that because as the sport has evolved, we've started shooting longer and longer slugs. Well, now they made it so right now the longest slug there is basically is like your 40 grain in a 22 caliber. Well, now they've facilitated that with a deep magazine and also this bigger mag well so that they can shoot those big long slugs without having problems with the magazine. Also, the adjustable buttstock. The adjustable buttstock, you can change your length of pole. It also can be adjusted back and forth like so, but you've got this option. So you can tighten that up. You can change the length of pole if you want, so make it longer, shorter stock. And also, it can be moved up and down. So your cheek weld is just where you want it to be for whatever scope height you've got, which is very unique. I don't know of too many air rifles that do that. So another piece that is adjustable for whatever your shooting style, or maybe you grip different with a vertical grip. One thing is your trigger has a travel as well, so you can change length of pole even on the trigger adjustment. And obviously it's still got that great FX trigger that's fully adjustable as well. But they've also added in some travel on that, so you can change just the distance of that trigger pull. So it just makes it another way to just custom fit this gun just for you right out of the box, which is incredible. Right now I've got the vertical, this is the Ergo Air Grip. FX will have their own vertical grip that comes with it. The reason they were running vertical, well, two reasons. One is you see that a lot in the precision rifle realm. All the PRS guys shoot a vertical grip. For that style of shooting, that's more comfortable for them. So we wanted to make this as adaptable for those guys as we could. But also, with that 45 grip style, you may run into some space right here because this bottle is fairly close to the grip. So I think that's another reason why you're seeing it come factory with a vertical grip. One thing to note, this is an early prototype. This was a pre-production rifle. So what you're seeing, there could be a few little changes. I think one thing you're going to see is there's a little bit of sharp edges on this. That I think is going away pretty soon. Probably before you ever see one, it will be fixed. They're also going to make this M-LOK and this Arca rail a little bit deeper. That way the weights weren't coming down into the Arca rail a little bit. That was one thing that they saw immediately after running these prototypes that they needed to do. So that's already been in the works. So you may see a few, in your final product, you may see it look just a little bit different, but it's essentially going to look just like this. Other things to note, it's a single regulator gun. So you've got a regulator, you've got a pressure gauge here on the sides at a 45 degrees, so the shooter can always see what pressures he's running. It's going to come available in 500, 600, or 700. This is your 700 millimeter barrel. With these power levels, it's going to be a phenomenal slug shooter, and that's primarily what you're going to see shooting in the precision rifle competitions. Also, as you can see, we've got the impulse air moderator on there. This is how it will come factory. It does not come with a moderator. It'll come with a thread cap. So that's your length out of the box. I will say this, it has a little bit of bark because you've got that much power going into it. I would suggest a moderator. It is a little bit loud without it. I want to really emphasize the amount of power that they're making out of this little powerhouse is amazing. I obviously haven't received the 500 or 600, so I don't have solid data for you there. But what I can tell you is with this gun, if you're shooting a lighter slug, say a 25 grain or even down to a hybrid or something, your shot count's going to be pretty high because the way this valve works and the power levels that it's producing, you can shoot that pretty efficiently. Again, talking about having competition in mind, you can see the way this gun balances. I'm holding it pretty much centered with a scope on there. I've got weights out here now, but that was the idea in mind, is they knew that if you wanted the gun to balance at a fairly centered point for the reasons of competition where you set it on a bag and it stays there, obviously you needed to weight the front a little bit because we've got a lot of weight back here, not a lot, but to balance out the gun, they knew that we'd be adding weights on the front of this. That's part of the reason they made this big long rail, and the accessory part of it is being able to weight the front for balance. I know a lot of precision rifle shooters like that balance, because when they set up on a barricade, they set the gun down on their sandbag on the barricade, and then they can move themselves. They can move their body to position for the shot. Instead of having to worry about holding onto the gun while they get situated in a position, they can just set that on, it's balanced. That's a very unique thing out of an air gun right now, having that balance like that. So kudos to them, by thinking heads up on all the things that we would want as a precision rifle shooter. They've made something for that in pretty much everything on the gun. All right, so we're out here freezing our balls off here in the range because it is butt cold. As you can see, we're kind of bundled up. But we wanted to be able to show you the capabilities of this gun, shoot some targets at distance. We've got some targets set up at 200 yards, and let's just see how it does at distance. We've seen how it does at the range, but let's stretch the legs on it a little bit and see what we can get now. Okay. That didn't take long, did it? Wind is pushing too. It's pushing pretty good. So 200 yards, we got some cute little prairie dogs out there. I gotta get my fingers warm for a second, for real. That is freaking cold. Oh, it is so cold I don't even want to take my gloves off to shoot. It's about 20 degrees right now and the wind's blowing a little bit, but I'm gonna do it for you. So as you can see, we've got it on a game changer bag and on a barricade, and you can see how balanced the gun is. I can just set that on the bag. I can get myself in position without having to hold my gun in place while I do it, which is a big advantage for when you're shooting different stages like this. So having that gun balanced like this and such a low profile, I got plenty of room to work in between the barricades. So I can just get on the gun after I'm situated and engage targets. 200 yarder off the barricade. I can step away and give myself some props. The gun stays there. It's all good. It's all good. When that wind stayed steady for just a second, boom, that was 4 shots at 200 yards. That was 2 shots, and that was 3 shots, I'm not gonna lie. The wind was doing some funky stuff where it blows down the canyon, but it had died for just a second, and you can see what kind of accuracy you can expect. So now that you've seen what it can do, get your mittens on one of these.